Um, I'm Monica Spielman. I'm a web developer, Drupal developer. I'm fur-elf on most of the interwebs. Occasionally I'm fur-elf 15 if 15 other fur-elves got there before me. I started learning web development in '95 when there weren't really any formal education opportunities. The closest program was in San Francisco, and that was a bit of a commute for me. So got my first job in web development in '97, right across the street. A subsidiary of CH2M Hill decided they wanted an intranet, so they went to the IT department and asked for volunteers in the IT department to build this thing, and I put my hand up, and that was probably the best career move I've ever made. So don't fall for the line that you shouldn't volunteer for things. Sometimes it turns out really well. And then I was working on a team there for a little while, and then I began 15 years as a Lone Ranger developer, where I wasn't surrounded by other developers. Whatever I learned, I had to find resources myself. I don't like to say that I'm self-taught, because that's a bit of a misnomer. I've learned a lot from tutorials and video programs and stuff like that, but I like to say that I'm a self-directed learner. Never had any real formal education except for an occasional class at PCC. And I'd been working by myself for quite a few years and just kind of coasting along, writing my HTML and my CSS and a little bit of JavaScript and some Flash and things like that. And then we decided we wanted to do something with Drupal. And everybody in my department knew that it was going to be over my head because I'd only been working with Drupal a little bit, and we wanted to do something pretty complex with it. So my boss said, well, why don't you go to these Drupal meetups and see if you can find somebody smarter than you that is willing to work for coffee or pizza. It's like, okay, sure. It's like, I got some idea of what Drupal developers make. I'm sure they're going to work for pizza and coffee. So that part didn't turn out well, but what did turn out well is I realized that I'd been coasting along in my education. They were talking about CSS preprocessors and version control and Git, and I had this, oh my God, I don't know what those things are. I am so far behind. I'm never going to catch up. I'm doomed. I'm going to go back to tech support, in some IT department. And, I realized that I'd been coasting too long and I needed to do something. And so I did what probably everybody does. I got more tutorials and I started them and didn't finish them, and I got distracted by other tutorials that I started and didn't finish. And even though I was, theoretically continuing my education, it was pretty haphazard, and people did still keep paying me to do what I was doing, so that was cool. But it's always felt like I wasn't really accomplishing a lot, spending a lot of time not accomplishing a lot. So if you've ever, had a moment like that, you're in the right place right now. So one of the things that I missed about school is that, you'd have a syllabus, a course syllabus, and you'd have a curriculum, and you'd have, fellow students that were all studying the same thing with you. And when you're a self-directed learner, you're missing out on a lot of that. So I figure, well, I'm going to have to do a lot of this myself. And then you run into the problem. I'm not a project manager. I'm a developer, just like probably most of you. Fortunately, there are some tools that can help us. I relied on a lot of tools to pretend to be an accountant for a long time. So, I figured, well, there's some tools that can help me pretend to be a project manager. One of the things that I love about our industry is that it's always changing. There's always something new to learn. I think that will continue. I expect that to continue. A lot of times what I think I need to be learning, something will come up and like, oh no, you need to learn this other thing. Like I had something last year, we were doing a lot of Drupal development, and the boss said, does anybody have any, know how to write an Alexa skill? I was like, well, I don't, but I can figure it out. And so, there's this out of the blue, a new technology that I think I can learn that. So a lot of this continuing education, the development of a developer, started to sound a lot like a software development program. It's got to be responsive to changing needs. It's never going to be done, like most of our websites are never really done. And so I wonder if I can use some of these project management tools to manage my own education. But for me and amongst all my family and friends, plan is a 4-letter word. It's like I don't have those project manager skills, so I'm going to rely a lot on the tools. And so I'm the project, and I'm also the project manager. And so I figure, well, I'm going to start working on this with some of the tools that our project managers have used on the projects that I've worked on. And for me, that's going to be Jira. For you, it might be Trello, or it might be Basecamp. I don't really know everything that Basecamp can do. Could be a Yellow Pad. You know, whatever works for you. That's the tool that you should be using to manage your project as a developer. That's going to come with a little bit of a warning. Don't spend so much time managing the project that you forget to actually do the project, which is learn the things that you want to learn. It can definitely be helpful, especially for getting a job, if you're getting familiar with a lot of the technologies, the project management tools, like writing user stories and sprint planning and estimates and prioritizing all the tasks. Those are all good skills that you should have, but don't let those bury the technical skills that you're really trying to develop. Just only do as much as you have to do to keep making progress. So as a Drupal developer, I need to improve my skills so that I can continue in my chosen field and make a lot of money or make the world a better place or whatever. So how about everybody just start there? What's your project? Are you a Drupal developer like me that wants to keep doing this, or are you maybe you're working in decoupled Drupal and you might need to learn other things besides just Drupal. So if you're all if you got like one overarching user story, go ahead and write that down if you've got something to write on, or if you've got project management skills in your head, use those. Does anybody have a story that's different than mine as far as, I'm a Drupal developer, need to improve my skills? Anyone different there? Okay, all right. Then we're going to break it down into epics. So what are the things that you need to learn as a Drupal developer? Anybody? What do you need to learn or get better at? It might be something that you know that you just want to get better at. Symfony, okay, that's good. Anybody else? PHP fundamentals, object-oriented fundamentals. Testing, that's a good one. But any front-end developers in SAS or Pattern Lab or JavaScript, anyone? What? Better at all of them. Yeah, right. So go ahead and write them down. So go ahead, that you're capturing them, because you're going to prioritize them also. Some of my priorities are in bigger letters than the others here. You might need to get better at the command line. You might need to learn more DevOps tools so you can help out in deployments. You might need to learn some SQL. One of the presentations I was at this morning, we were talking about security, so you might need to learn more about security. So then after you've written down all your epic tickets, then it's going to be time to start looking at some resources. What are some sources of education that you found have been helpful to you? Stack Overflow, that's a good one. Okay. What else?
GitHub.
I'm sorry? GitHub. Okay, learning from GitHub. And some of my favorites are lynda.com and Treehouse. I've also had a Drupalize Me account from time to time. Lots of free stuff on YouTube. Lots of tutorials there. Glitch? Okay, I haven't heard of that one. Is that a lot of tutorials there?
It's a repository sort of like GitHub, but it's also got like you can live update, so you can actually see your code in real time change.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. I recommend that.
Nice. Okay.
And there's tons of projects on there you can look at and pull and just kind of play around with and break.
Cool. Very nice. Plural sites? Okay. Cool. All right. Code. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Other modules on Drupal.
Yeah, other modules. Yep. Drupal Association's got a YouTube channel, so all the DrupalCon sessions that get recorded show up there. Lots of good stuff there. So after I've prioritized all my epic tickets and found a resource that's got something on the subject matter that I want to learn, I'm going to break it down into more manageable chunks. For my example, I just picked a lynda.com tutorial on object-oriented PHP. And then I started breaking that down into tickets. So for each chapter within the tutorial, I made a ticket for it. And the tickets, the reason why I make the tickets will come in handy in another slide or two. So that's just how I broke down this particular project. You know, you might have just one ticket for the whole chapter, or the whole session, things like that. So again, whatever works for you, you do that, and I'll do what I do. And as long as I'm using Jira, I might as well use the rest of the tools in there, estimate how much time I think it's going to take. And then once I've done that, then I can do some sprint planning, just like any development project. So maybe that object-oriented PHP class, it looks like it was about 4 hours of material, and I just kind of doubled that. I'm not really good at estimating yet. I always say I'm like Rain Man, everything takes an hour. Everything costs $100, everything takes an hour. There's a really good JavaScript tutorial that I've been looking at by Wes Bos. It's like 30 days of JavaScript. So I gave myself a month, 2 months actually, to do that one. I'd originally given myself a month, and then I was like, yeah, that's not realistic. And that's the nice thing about this, managing these projects. You can go back and revise them however you need to. And then there was a SAS tutorial somewhere, I can't remember where it was, that I thought was probably going to take about 8 hours, and so I gave myself a week on that one. Let's see.
Do you write PHP right now?
Yes, I do. That's actually, because I've got a jillion certificates from lynda.com from when I was just coasting and watching the videos. But if you can get so much more out of it if you stop and actually do the work along with them. That's one of the things that I like about Treehouse, is they actually kind of force you to do the work. Lynda's getting better at it, and I don't know about all the others. Like, I don't think the tutorials that I've gotten from Udemy, they don't force you to do the work, but it's up to you. I mean, you can cheat if you want to, but you're only cheating your own education by doing that. So yeah, I do stop and do the work with them. And that brings me to my next slide. You should definitely have an account somewhere for version control, whether that's GitHub or Bitbucket or somewhere else. The reason you want that is so you can show your work. You can show it to potential employers. You can show it to your current employer if you're trying to negotiate for a raise. It's really good to be able to show your work, show your understanding, that you understand how version control works. One of the things that I did when I was learning Git after my aha moment is I actually made 3 different GitHub accounts. I made one for the Linux box that I use, I made another one for the Windows box, and one more for the Mac box. And so I pretended like I was 3 different developers just so that I could have some experience getting code from other developers, and what do you do when there's a merge conflict between 2 different developers. So if I had 2 or 3 different accounts, I could simulate what that process would be like, and learn more from it that way. And then as long as you're using a tool, one of the reasons why I use Jira and the ticketing system is that I can use the tickets for the project names. So when I'm creating a repository, I can just use the Jira ticket for the whole project. I can use the individual tickets for different branches. It just helps to be able to find things again on your computer, because I don't know, I've had a sandbox folder and a project folder and a sites folder, and things get all over the place. So this is just a better way for me to be able to manage things. If anybody's got any suggestions of how they manage things and keep things straight, go ahead and shout them out.
For Bitbucket, because you use the Jira issues, then Bitbucket will have automatic links so you can resolve or even do more with that. So
yeah,
the integration between the apps. So
that's what my current employer does, and so yeah, I thought that was brilliant. I haven't actually done that myself yet because I don't have a lot of personal stuff on Bitbucket. I still have everything on GitHub. Go ahead.
GitHub also has tickets.
I'm sorry?
GitHub also has tickets.
GitHub also has tickets, yeah.
Any repo you can be recording issues against it, but you can use it on your own, and then you can use other tools to make a really nice organized flow of like, this is what I'm working on, this is what's ready for testing, this is what's been approved or rejected.
Okay, great. So GitHub has a lot of the same kind of tools. That's great. That's awesome.
And actually, when you do a git commit, you can say fixes 1, 2, 3 and automatically close the ticket.
Okay, so you can close the ticket by putting in the number. Awesome. That's great. Let's see. And then also, if you don't have any public hosting, go ahead and get some. I know I'm pretty sure there are some places where you can get free or pretty inexpensive stuff. And again, that's show your work. So when you're done with one of your tutorials, go ahead and publish your work, because then that's part of your portfolio, and you can, to an employer or your current employer while you're negotiating, say, here's this project, this is the material that I followed, and here's the end result, and so you can demonstrate that, yeah, you really understand this work. Another thing that I like to do from the tutorials is, while I'm working on them, is just extend them a little bit. So maybe there's a tutorial that'll walk you through you create a dice game or something like that. It's like, well, I can extend this by, how can I extend this? Maybe I'm going to add another step. What happens if, if there's a tie or something like that, take it to another step so that you're adding something to the tutorial instead of just copying what somebody else has done. You can really demonstrate your understanding by extending the project a little bit like that. Yeah.
I just have a comment on that. One of my favorite things that I did a long time ago to learn. I was learning design patterns, and I read Design Patterns book, the Head First Design Patterns book, which you may be familiar with, and all the code is written in Java. So at the time I was programming C#, I rewrote it all in C#. You can rewrite it on PHP.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
yeah.
So if you take a conceptual thing and just maybe learning a framework or something, write out do the exercises in a different framework, and then you really understand the concepts, not just the syntax.
That's a great idea. Doing the project in a different framework. So going from Java to was C#? Is that what you, or C++?
At that time,
yeah,
it would
but
apply
something.
to do the same thing, and it actually really a real challenge to implement design patterns and object-oriented PHP. If you agree with an object-oriented PHP and design patterns at the same time.
That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely.
And do you go to a specific site, or do you just
In that case, I bought the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a great book, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, Pack Publishing is another good source for more, I think mostly book tutorials, but I can't remember if they have any video tutorials there, but they're pretty inexpensive stuff there, actually. Okay, and yeah, this presentation is going really fast. So, because this is so important to your career, like you're going to get paid more the more you know, theoretically. Schedule your education time just like you had classes scheduled in school. I don't know about you, but I've never found time. No matter how hard I look for it, I've never found time. Maybe you found it and you're really good at looking for it, but I've never done it, so you actually have to take the time from something else. Don't necessarily recommend taking it from your family, but, and don't take it all from your leisure time, because nobody wants to be just the maker of bricks. But really, you do have to schedule the time, at least I do, otherwise I'm not going to, how many times have you said, oh, I'm going to do that thing this weekend, but you don't write it down on your calendar, and then, something comes up and you're out playing Frisbee or something like that and not doing the work. So, this part of your profession is to keep up with your education, so, you got to make it a priority on your calendar too. And then, let's see, I promised you some action items, so these are the action items. So you're going to set up your project. You're going to identify your subjects. And you're going to write and prioritize your tickets. Again, don't spend so much time managing the project that you don't actually do the project. And then set up your version control and your hosting so that you can show your work to people. And then get to work and make your appointments and start coding, start learning. Anybody have any questions? It went a lot faster than I thought.
Not so much a question,
Yeah.
but about the setting up your hosting.
Mm-hmm.
I found a number of either free or like $5 a month hosts that they seem to get they seem to not offer you any frills or any gimmicks, anything like that. Like you have to use SSH to log in. You can only commit with Git or whatever your
Right,
repository
yeah.
is that you use. And they have a lot of these things that are I call it like the big boy dips, right?
Right.
like you have to do all these specific things. You can't FTP or you can't just have a login or something like that. And it really forces you to I gotta think through these things, and it makes you learn. At least it made me learn more than I had. And like a free one is like Red Hat has an OpenShift.
Okay, yeah, Red Hat,
There's one there.
OpenShift, yeah.
I found a different one, some $5 a month German hosting company that they're awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's similar things like that. So I don't even know what you'd go download and install Drupal for free. One of those kind of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If we're doing professional development, you can, for free or $5, you can get pretty good hosting that forces you to do things sort of in an industry standard way.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think Heroku was another site that had pretty low cost hosting. I don't remember if you can do Drupal there. I think I was using them when I was trying to learn a little bit of Ruby.
They kind of specialize in Ruby.
In Ruby, okay, specialist in Ruby. I've been using Rockin for a long time. They were primarily, Joomla hosts, so a lot of the same tools that you need for a Joomla site are there for the Drupal sites. They're pretty inexpensive. I know Acquia in the past has had some free hosting. I don't know if they still have it, and that was usually Git deploys through that process. Anybody else?
I love Lando, which has great integration with Pantheon.
Lando and Pantheon? Okay, that's great.
Yeah, unless you publish a site on Pantheon, it's free. So if you're just messing around for dev learning.
Okay, so just learning on Pantheon.
Yeah.
And then do they have another tier where if you got something really good and you wanted to publish it, and then
Yeah,
is
but
it
you know, pay 'em.
pay a little bit? Okay.
It's fine, but I mean,
Yeah.
It's based on traffic, so probably it's an internal site. It's not expensive. You know, it's internal to you.
Yeah.
It's not expensive.
Or just a portfolio or something like that. Yeah, cool.
And the flip side of it is since so many sites are using it and get so many Drupal customers, it's a good skill to learn.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I think at my last job we used Pantheon for one of our projects, and yeah, there were some things to learn in order to get everything working published that way. Yeah, so that's also good. I also like to like on my terminal, I've got a oh my Zish is like the environment, and it's got a random theme. So every time I turn it on, the prompt is a little bit different. It's still showing me what branch I'm on in GitHub. It's still showing, what directory I'm in, but there's just a little bit different every time. So I'm not so used to seeing the same thing that, I kind of, a lot of times when you're used to seeing the same thing, you stop seeing it. So it's, because it's different every time I look at it, I'm actually seeing what I need to be seeing there. Yeah.
Is it still pretty consistent with the red beans passed, red beans failed, and green beans passed?
Yeah, on test results it would be. Sometimes the Git branch is in a different color, and sometimes the working directory is in a different color, or the user prompt or something like that. Whatever's in there, there'll be different colors. But yeah, if I were running tests, they'd still come up red.
Highly targeted to those particular colors.
Yeah.
Organization was created by a local Portland.
Oh, is it? Okay, local Portlander made that. Well, thank you, whoever made that, because that's been fun, having the different themes every time. Yeah. Any other suggestion? What else has worked for you, or any pitfalls that you've run into in your own education?
Going to meetups, that's a good.
Going to meetups, yes, that's excellent. Yeah, definitely.
Finding groups of people and encouraging each other to go. I've
Yeah.
noticed that that's one thing that can be if you kind of fall off because you're not working with a group. Sometimes it can lead
Yep.
to misunderstandings.
Yeah, definitely. And that was one of the other suggestions that I had that I forgot to write down is, get a study buddy. And you're in a room full of people who are probably in the same boat as you and learning a lot of the same things. So, make friends and be study buddies together. And so,
You mentioned making, making the time or taking it from somewhere
Yeah.
else, but not too much from your leisure activity.
yeah, because you still have to save Middle Earth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
I try to combine those sometimes. You know, I find a niche that I got to scratch. That but I'll just make this in Drupal.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
do, something, and not everything you can do online like that. But if you have something you can do, I've gone to bed way too late sometimes on a work night. What am I doing? I gotta, 'cause I was learning this stuff, but I wasn't thinking about learning it. I was just building something new. And if you force yourself to use a certain technique that I'm uncomfortable with this, I don't really know that, but I really want to get this cool little project done.
Yeah.
Those have been helpful.
That's good. Yeah. Yep.
I think challenging yourself.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And one of the things, like when we were thinking about all the different technologies that we want to learn and or get better at, it's, for my priorities, I had PHP first, and I had, I think I had Twig second, or JavaScript or something like that. But those are all along the lines of kind of like a musician learning scales, or not learning scales, but going through the motions of doing the scales. Even though they've been playing for 30 years, you still go back to the fundamentals and get better at the fundamentals, so that when that random thing comes flying in, you're so good at the fundamentals that does make sense to you, even though you've never seen it before. Or something really interesting to you comes up, you can kind of treat that in your mind like an elective. Like for me, I've never had anybody want to pay me to do anything in React, so I've never done anything with React yet. But if I was particularly interested in that, even though nobody's offered to pay me to do it, I might think of that as one of my electives and put that into my plan, into my curriculum of things that I'm going to learn. Just because it's interesting to me. Because if you've got the boring stuff that you have to do to get better, and then you've got these interesting things that are just like carrots to keep you going. So make sure you've got enough carrots in there to keep you going. Yeah.
I found that even the boring stuff can actually be pretty helpful, because I've had several situations on like Drupalize Me, for instance, where I start a tutorial and I look at the topics and I'm like, okay, I know how to do that, I know how to do that, I know how to do that. But I've recently decided to actually go through them, even if I know how to do it, because a lot of the time there will be some useful little nugget of information buried inside of that is something basic you might have just missed, because we all learn this stuff completely differently.
Right. Yeah. So go through even the stuff that looks boring, and you probably get through it really quickly. But yeah, and that's why I like to focus on the fundamentals a little more than what might be more interesting. Like, I never had to do anything with Angular 1, and so I might have been wasting my time a little bit if I'd been focused on learning Angular 1 instead of getting better at the basics of JavaScript. So vanilla JavaScript will help you learn the more interesting things that come up.
How do you keep notes? Like, you learn this?
Actually, documenting that in the code is great. I use comments in code all the time. Like if I'm working on something, even for my day job, if I've got a problem and I found a solution out on Drupal.org or Stack Overflow, I'll make a comment of the URL where I got that answer. And so yeah, the code comments are genius at that.
Oh yeah. Now me constantly thanks past me.
Yeah.
For those references.
Right. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Past me.
Yeah. Your future me will thank you for putting those things in the comments. Definitely. Yeah. In the back.
It also becomes something you can share to help others.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I've done that in the past. Write really complex code, very excessively documented, because the team I was handing it over to didn't know the product.
Right.
So by maintaining it, they learned it.
Definitely. Yeah. The code comments are definitely really good way.
Quick thing I wanted to mention, so I'm actually using it right now. For just general notes, I found this really cool thing called Quiver that basically allows you to take regular text notes, but also you can set certain boxes to be code instead. And it's got all kinds of different useful functionality within it. You have to pay, it's like $10 or something on the App Store, but it's super helpful and it's designed for developers for taking notes.
So note-taking app, Quiver, is that what it was called? Okay.
Like Quiver, or is it like a K or
No,
something?
regular medieval Quiver.
Okay. With the E and everything, the ER. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
I think that the question earlier about how do you know when someone's learned something
Mm-hmm.
is something that I've learned a lot through mentoring. Is that someone doesn't really one way to learn that someone's learned something is when they teach it to someone else.
Yes. Oh, excellent point. Yeah. So, if you think you've learned something, you haven't really learned it until you can teach it to someone else. That's a great point. Yeah. And there's plenty of opportunities for mentoring. Portland's got code schools all over the place. I imagine Seattle does too. So there's lots of newbie coders out there that there's a meetup here in Portland not every Saturday anymore. I think it's once a month now on Saturdays at Metal Toad. Lots of code school students go there, and when I first started going to that meetup, I thought I was one of the people going to be mentored, and then I was talking with someone and sharing, like, oh, I guess I could be one of the mentors instead of one of the mentees, and like that just gave me all kinds of confidence, and so that's helpful too. So if you're mentoring other developers that are coming up behind you, that can be really good for your own ego too, and you start to feel less like, oh my God, I'm never going to learn all the things, because you're not ever going to learn all the things, because they keep changing all the things. So, yeah.
I think that's an excellent point. And
Yeah.
you don't even have to get to the point of actually literally mentoring an individual. Just starting to write up your syllabus or whatever you would do, that usually for me really points out quickly what I don't know. Or if I'm having a hard time explaining, if you can't articulate it, it's only good for you. That doesn't help anybody else. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody in the back?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, please do, because we've got another, we have more time.
Volunteering is a great way to network and to meet other people. In Drupal, you can fix simple bugs. There's bugs that are really lower hanging fruit, so when you get that point, testing things that you're using, reporting on bugs. This is helpful to the maintainers of that code and getting your name out there.
Yes.
You're showing that you're willing to help. If you help run camps or summits like
Yep.
this one, if you're involved, you're getting to meet a bunch of people. They're getting a sense of you as somebody who gives back.
Yes, giving back to your community. That's brilliant.
When
Yeah.
I was new to Drupal, I didn't know what to do. They wanted to run a Drupal camp, and nobody knew what they were doing, but I knew how to run events.
Okay.
I said, okay, I'll help.
Yeah.
The next thing I knew, I got several job offers. This job offers because I helped run the conference, but I didn't know anything much about Drupal. I was getting job offers just because I was the guy at the front.
That's great. Yeah, great. Okay. That actually brings up a good point. There's if the Drupal ladder is not on your list, it should be on your list. The Drupal ladder is a process that you can go through that teaches you how to make contributions. I think like the bug fixes and things in the issue queue. It's a step-by-step process that just gets you going there, and that'll help a lot too. So maybe that's one of your electives. Maybe that's one of your priorities. But that's definitely another good place to learn and develop and give back all at the same time. Yeah.
I've noticed that the Drupal ladder, while being absolutely amazing, it's very inward focused, that it gives back immediately back into the Drupal community.
Mm-hmm.
And one way that I found to spread out and give back, so to speak, to organizations, nonprofits, friends in the community, is by doing barn raising. And I've done maybe 5 or 6 of them when I was down in California. And has anyone heard of barn raising?
Barn raising, anybody?
Like literal barns, yes.
But
Yeah, so this is actually drawn from the literal
Okay.
barn raising.
Yeah.
Someone new moves into
It's
the
a cool
community.
idea.
Everyone shows up. Everyone in the community, usually Amish. Everyone's expected to show up, and if they don't show up, then they're like, "Oh, well, you suck because you didn't show up to build, the Jefferson's new barn." That element is not the same. Like, I don't carry that over.
Okay.
so no shaming, right?
That's a real thing in the original barn raising tradition, but in the digital version, it's someone like a friend of the community or a nonprofit, and I've done barn raisings at Drupal camps and also just a weekend at a co-working space where we invite nonprofits to fill out a survey and say what you need, and then depending on what they need and who's generally available in the community, bring everybody together and over 2 days build the proverbial barn.
Okay.
And it's an amazing teach and learn opportunity.
Is there? Do you have any suggestions on how to find those opportunities?
It's organizer driven.
Or okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good idea too.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I've noticed is that there's like this afternoon slump during a code sprint, and while a nonprofit might not have the money to provide the funding, the infrastructure, and so on, every single nonprofit I've worked with at a barn raising has volunteered. They've actually been able to bring the food, and that's been amazing. And that's one way for them to give back to those who are giving back to them. And so yeah, barn raisings are great. If you go on on GDO and just type in barn raising, you'll find a couple of the barn raising posts.
Okay, so groups.drupal.org and search for barn raising.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Or even, I was thinking Ivan Booth might be a good person to connect with. He's at Rootwork, I think.
Yep.
At Rootwork here. Yeah, in the back.
When you mentioned nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits built their original site off of a single-time grant. And so if you were to go to a nonprofit, you would find Drupal 5 and Drupal 6. And if people are looking for volunteer work, you have to do it in a way that didn't make you look like a hacker. But contacting nonprofit organizations and saying, I see that your website is tremendously out of date, probably insecure, we're part of Freaky or some other organization you might use as a respectable friend. You might. There's some sort of respectability place that could lend respectability to the idea, but doing free upgrades to Drupal 8 for these nonprofits that their site still works, they know nothing about why they shouldn't still be on there, and they're not going to get another grant for an upgrade. Just not. They hired, I've been that programmer that they hired for 1 year to build the site, then bye-bye, and 5 years later you look back and someone just.
Yeah, actually, there was a talk earlier at this conference about a distribution Drupal 8 for Bene.
Bene, okay, Bene for the distribution. Okay.
If you watch the recording, he references the other projects that are out there. I can't remember the names.
Okay.
But those are like great starting points. A distro gets you up and running on the Drupal 8 site with a lot less institutional knowledge required.
Okay, great. Okay, so check out the Bene distribution. Yeah, great.
They claim you can do like 100 of them all at once and update.
Yeah, they're hosted on Campion, so they have a deal with Campion.
Yeah.
They are still trying to map out performance of one.
So there's like Drutopia, Bene, Roundtree, I mean, there's a whole bunch.
Roundtree and Drutopia.
Yeah,
Great.
are specifically for.
Open social community forum.
On Round Earth.
Those are the ones.
Round up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Round
and
Earth.
Round Earth includes City CRM in it.
Anybody else? I really appreciate the participation here because, yeah, like I said, I only had 20 minutes of material. So,
Good catalyst.
yeah. Okay. Anybody find a study buddy? You know.
20.
Okay. All right. I guess that's it. We can go make friends and get to work. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, work too.
Yeah.